All right, so let's see. So these are the things that we want to be able to do today. We want to create a CRUD app for our library's books. We want to be able to do 5 actions actually. The first one is we want to be able to create a book. We haven't done that yet. We want to be able to read or see a book, both an individual book and all the books that we have. We want to be able to update a book. Let's just say that the author of, let's say you want to update the title because you entered it in wrong, or you entered the wrong author name, or you misspelled it or something. You want to be able to edit a book. And you also want it to be able to delete a book in the case that your library stops carrying that particular book. We've only done one thing so far. We're able to read all books. And what we're going to do next is we're going to read an individual book. So right now, if I go over here to /books, I can just read all of my books. But what if I wanted to take a look at an individual book? Like I want to go to /books/1 to take a look at this first book, /books/2 to see another book, so on and so forth. I want to see a little bit more details than just this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new URL. But again, the path is always the same. It is URLs, and then we're going to go to views.py. We're going to talk to the database, and then we're going to pass the payload off to HTML. So it's that same pattern over and over again. So we're going to go inside of urls.py for books. We're going to create our first path. Let's just do path. This one's going to look a little different. We're going to call this, it's going to be an integer called book ID. It's going to go to views.book view, and the name is going to be book view. Let's kind of take a look at what we just did. So over here, I have created another path. Before it was whenever I made a request to /books, views file had a book list method that took care of it. Now I'm talking about an individual book. So when I go to visit an individual book, /books/some ID, it's going to take me to the views file, specifically the book view method. It doesn't exist right now, so let's put that one in. So def book view, it's going to take in a request. And the first thing that we're going to do actually is also going to take in, from the request, it's going to take in a book ID. So I'm going to grab the book from the database. So book equals book.objects.get ID is equal to book ID. First things first, grab your stuff from the database. Then I'm going to create a data object, which is going to be book is equal to book, like this. And then I'm going to copy line 8 altogether, but I'm going to change it from booklist.html to maybe bookview.html. At the same level as booklist, I'm going to, one second, at the same level of booklist.html, I'm going to create another file called bookview.html. Yes, I think I interrupted Emma.
So when you pass the variable over, you're passing the book over in data, is it better practice to like just get the general object? Or like if I wanted all of those things separately, would I create the variables in views, or is it better to do it over in the HTML?
I think what you're asking is, let's say that you wanted to just pass in the author and the title. You're saying, is it better just?
Yeah.
Let me create this file first, and then we can take a look at both ways. Short answer is you should be passing in. Either one is fine. I know some people who are saying inside of views.py, you should do all the heavy lifting, and the only thing that the view, the actual HTML page itself should be doing is just displaying information. It shouldn't be calculating anything. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's probably fine just to get the attribute off of the object. All right, so at the same place as booklist.html, which is inside of templates, books, and then book list over here, I'm going to create a new file called bookview.html. And I'm just going to write hello, just to kind of get started so we see what's going on. I think I blew something up here. It says invalid syntax, path. I see the issue. Can somebody else figure it out? What's going on between these two? It says that there's invalid syntax.
Need a comma after
Need a comma.
line.
Yep. Yeah. This is a list, and lists are separated by commas, and that's why this was broken before. All right. So jumping back over here, books still works. Let's go to book/1, please work, and it just says hello. Let's walk through the process of what it actually did. urls.py went to /books/someID. That took me to the views file, the book view method. Book view method's over here. It grabs some data out of the database. It creates a payload of data that we're going to use inside of here. And then I'm going to pass it off at that point to bookview.html. And right now it just says hello. And that's exactly what we're seeing here as well. It's kind of what we expect. Now I'm just going to grab this from the curriculum because I am lazy. And let's just take a look. All right, so we got book.title and author because we changed it, book.author. And yeah, I think this should actually work. Let's go back. We're going to refresh the page. We got book details, title, soccer book. The author is Geo. Let's see if I can actually change between two different ones. Book/2. Yep, I remember Heather went second. Third person was The Hobbit. And then the fourth person was Harry Potter. And it's saved in that particular order. Now let's take a look at the HTML we've got here. Book details is at the very top. The title, we're grabbing the database entry and then just kind of putting the title and the author here. And then there's also this ability to go back here. I can click that and I can go back to all books. That's happening down over here. So again, we got that big H1 at the very top, book details. We're interpolating book.title. Book comes from data. It's this key over here. Book.title, book.author, because we have access to that from the database. And then at the very bottom here, we've got something called a named route. So I'm creating a link, this href here, using the Jinja template, which is basically just interpolated Python, using the curly brace parenthesis %, and then all of this here. I'm creating a URL called books, that's this app name over here, :book list. Book list is the named version of just this here. I can do this in another way as well. I could just do /books. This is two ways of doing the exact same thing. Let's just verify that this works. I hope it does. Like this second one, /books. And so you can kind of see when I hover on the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, you'll see that there's books and /books, just like this. What do you think the value of doing line 5 over line 6 is? Let's go jump over to Luis. What do you think? Is there a benefit between doing line 5 or line 6?
Yeah, I think one of the benefits is scalability. So if I add more like pages, I don't know, basically just having these named routes just makes it easier to keep track of everything, I guess.
That's exactly right. You'll notice this last argument on urls.py is a named route. Like book list is the same thing as book list over here. What this allows you to do is that whenever Python and /Django looks and sees that I'm creating a URL for books, the app name, :book list, the name of the route, I'm going to find that particular route and then just shove it in over here. This is basically interpolation. I'm grabbing the value that's right over here and putting it right over here. The difference is when I hard code it like this, if this path ever changes to be like all books, what you'll notice here is if I go back over here to 1 and I go back, it'll take me to all books. This one takes me to a route that no longer exists. So by hard coding your routes over here, by hard coding your routes, you're making your code pretty brittle in the sense that it's like in the case that this URL ever does change and I change it from /books to all books, for example, this will keep up with like all the changes. This one will not. And again, I'm getting the name book list from this named route, this last argument right over here. All right, so what are we able to do? We're able to read all of the books. We're able to read all the books. We're able to read individual books. So we're able to read successfully from the database. So now we have to take care of create, update, and delete. Before I do that, let me just create some quick routes. Inside of book list, I deleted a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to bring it back now from before. Grab this. And I changed a few things. Book, this is going to be author instead of view, edit, and delete. Author. All right, so let's read through this one together, because if I try to refresh this, this will royally blow up. Let me get rid of maybe. Let me get rid of this for now. To do, and this to do, and I'll just take this out for right now. Let's go back and refresh, and this works. Okay. So look at what we've got. We've got a list of all the books, and now we have the actions to be able to view an individual book. We're going to work on editing the book very soon, and we're going to work on deleting the book. So we can view all of our books, and if you take a look here, all of these are changing at the bottom. So take a look at the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. The numbers are changing based on what I'm hovering on. How does that happen? I've got a table. The table headers are, that's this TH over here, title, which refers to line 16, author, which refers to line 17, view, which is this thing over here. It's basically saying like, create a bunch of links underneath the hood. So what I'm doing, just like before, is I'm creating a URL. It's going to, where's my URLs? I created a URL, looks for the app name books, looks for the book view. That's this over here on line 9. And it's passing in an argument book.id. What you'll notice here at the very beginning of path is it also requires a book ID. So it's taking this book ID from the database and interpolating it here so that it creates a link for you. And as a result, when I load up this page, you'll see that I have book 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each one of these books has an ID inside the database, and I'm creating a link for that. When I click on this, it'll take me there. When I clicked on this, it'll take me back. Cool. All right, let's move on to, let's create a new book for now. So I deleted this for a little bit earlier. We need two things to create, like when you go to a sign up page, you need two things. You need the ability to see a form and fill it out. And then you need the ability to, when you submit the form, it actually writes stuff into a database. We're gonna do that first one, which is just to see the form. I just wanna see something show up on the page. So what I've shown out here at the bottom is I'm gonna create a new URL under books, this app name, called book new. So with that, I'm gonna create a new, I'm going to create a new book. So I'm going to create a new path, /books/new. That seems to work for me. I'm going to take me to the views file, to book, create, and then the name based on the right side was book new. All right. So somebody makes a request to /books/new. It takes me to the views file. There's a book create method that I'm just going to copy and paste because this is where it starts getting a little bit more crazy. All right. I need a book form.
John, on 18.
Go ahead.
On line 18, book ID, book.id, that gets passed into okay, right there. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. I need a book form. Let's see, do I need anything else? I need render, I need direct. And I promise I'll go over all of this in just a second and just make sure I have everything. Okay, let me create one more thing. did a lot of copy paste, and let's go from there. All right. So I'm here at this particular point. Something is blowing up. Why is that not working? Unspecified failed pages, whatever. Let me just restart the server and refresh the page. Cool. All right, so I've got all my regular stuff going on here. I'm able to see all my books. I'm able to read all my books. I'm able to read an individual book. And now I want to be able to both see the form to create a new book and to actually make that work. So I've got this new URL /books/new. It takes me to urls.py. It takes me to the views file. It takes me to the book create method. The book create method has a lot of like fancy magic code underneath the hood that's going on right here. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a book form. Book form comes from over here, which inherits from model form. So usually the web, so Django is what's called a opinionated framework. They know that 99 times out of 100, you're going to be creating actual forms on the web, and they want to make that easy for you. So they actually have an entire module built in called model form. So I have a book form, it inherits from model form, and then there's this class called meta underneath. This one you need to actually put in here, but you're basically telling the model form, which model am I trying to create what model am I trying to create a form for? The model is going to be book, and the fields that I'm worried about are title and author. Those are the two things I'm worried about. And just by adding in these 4 lines of code here and inheriting from model form, it creates an entire form on line 21. So a form is going to be able to take requests that are either post requests. Remember we talked about that. Post request is when we send something. Or if it's not a post request, it's not going to do anything. So if the form is valid, I'm going to save the form, and I'm going to redirect you to the book list. But that's only when it posts. When it doesn't post, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to /books/book form, which I created just a little bit before, with this particular payload. The payload is going to be form is equal to the form that I created on line 21. New or edit is just a string, and I'm just going to say new for right now. With that, let me jump over to book form, which I created a little bit earlier. And let's read through this. H1, book form, new or edit, comes from line number 25. It's just a string that shows up at the top. It's going to be new or it's going to be edit, because I'm going to reuse this form over again for the actual editing portion. And now I've got this form. The method's going to be post. It has a CSRF token, which comes to us built in from book form. And then I'm just going to do form as P. I don't really know what's going on underneath the hood here, but essentially what's happening is it creates an instance of the book form on line 21. I pass it in on line 25 right over here. And just doing form as P will actually get the form coming out as HTML, all formatted for you. When I hit submit, it should work. And that's why it shows up like this. So let's create a new book. My favorite book is, I don't really read books, Foxtrot by Bill Hammond. When I hit submit here, I'm filling out this form that comes to us from line 3, form as P right over here. When I hit submit, what happens is it will actually submit to this particular form's URL, come back over here. It's going to receive it as a post. It's going to check whether or not it's valid, meaning that you filled out every single field inside of book that you need. It's going to save it into the database, and then it's going to redirect me to the book list, hopefully with a new 5th book that I've put inside the database. So if I click submit here, what you'll notice is I got Foxtrot with Bill Hammond, and when I hover over it, it actually did create a record inside the database because I've got books/5 here. So create has a lot of magic, and it's both good and bad underneath the hood to have something as simple as just inheriting and bringing in model form, creating a book form with these particular fields, and then just writing 3 lines of code. It's a little bit of magic, but that is how this is actually how we create books inside of a CRUD app in Django. Frankie, you are muted, but I see your mouth moving.
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. right, so we're able to create, we're able to read. Now let's move over to update and then delete, and then we can be finished, and then we can kind of review everything once more. So we have the ability to read all of my books. We're able to read an individual book. We're able to create as well. Now let's worry about update and for delete. If we go back to over here, we need to worry about this edit portion. So let's create that route. So inside of book list, there was a to-do that I took away. I'm just going to copy the same thing and hopefully it'll work. Let me copy this here. And I'm going to do this, maybe this is going to be book edit, probably. And it's going to pass in a ID as well. All right, so that means that over here, I need to create a new route called path. Probably it looks something similar to this. And I'm going to add in the /edit at the very end, views.book edit. And then I'm going to say name equals book edit. So anytime anybody makes a request to /books/ID/edit, it's going to take me to the views file, to the book edit method, and I'm going to edit this over here. Again, I'm going to just copy pasta because I'm lazy. And we'll go over this one here. I'm going to change this to book edit. Okay. Book list, book form. Okay. What you'll notice is that this book edit and the book create are very, very similar. Book form allows you to actually, it'll look inside the database to see if there's a instance that you're trying to update already. And that's happening here on line 29. So when I'm talking about updating a book, I have to get the book record out of the database to begin with. That's this line 29 over here, 28 over here. You'll notice that this line and line 16 are the same. There's probably room to refactor over there. I'm going to create a form similar to line 21. It's going to have that same post or none, but this time I'm also going to pass in an instance of the book. This way, book form knows that when you actually update over here, I'm actually updating this particular instance, this particular record of book out of the database. This one was creating a new one because you weren't passing in an instance. This one, you're editing one because you are passing in an instance. Same thing, it checks whether or not it's valid, it saves it, and then it redirects you to the book list. If you're not posting, meaning you're making a GET request, it's the same thing. I am going to push you over to book form. That's this over here. I'm going to pass in the form itself that I created on line 29, but instead of new or edit being new, I'm going to change the word to edit. Let's see if this works. So I'm at my main page here. I'm at /books, and let's say that I want to change the soccer book author. So I'm able to go over here. I hover over this. You'll see at the bottom left-hand corner /books/1/edit. Takes me to this with things actually already filled out for me. It's magic because what's happening here is I'm grabbing the book out of the database. I'm passing that as an instance to the book form, and the book form now knows that we're going to be editing this to begin with. So let's say that Gio, I'm going to put his full name over here. So I'm just going to put Giovanni over here. And when I hit submit here, it's going to come here. It's going to save it, meaning it's going to update the record inside the database and then redirect you back to the book list. So all books. Submit. And what you'll notice is that 19, the soccer book takes you now to Giovanni, and I click on view. It takes me to /1. Go ahead, Emma.
Is the instance an optional argument for that, for the book form there?
Yes. You'll notice that the question was, is instance an optional argument? And it is. So if you'll notice on line 21 and line 29 are very similar. This one doesn't have an instance. That's when you're creating something new. This one does have an instance. That's when you're updating something that already exists. So if you pass in instance, you're basically telling book form, I'm going to be editing something that already exists. When I'm talking about, when I don't pass it in, I'm creating something new.
And that should always be an object?
Mm-hmm. You're talking about this particular instance. So you're going to pass the object itself, not the ID of the book. All right, lastly, you'll take a look over here. there is a delete button that I haven't actually taken care of quite yet. So I'm able to read all my books. I'm able to read an individual book. I'm able to update like we just saw. And now let's say that I want to delete a book. I'm going to go to book list here. I'm going to add in one more line. Maybe I'll call this URLs books, maybe book delete. And it's going to take in a book ID because I have to tell it which book to actually delete. View, okay. All right, so I've added this link over here. If I go back and I refresh, it's going to blow up because it doesn't know what that URL is quite yet. So the first things first, I'm going to add in the actual URL. Cool. Very similar to line 11. Whenever anybody makes a request to /books/some_ID/delete, I'm going to go over to the views file, find the book delete method, and I'm going to name it book delete. That's how I can interpolate it over here in this named route. Jumping over to views.py, there's going to be a method called book delete. It's going to look very similar. I'm going to grab all of this. Actually, no, I'm just going to copy and paste it. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to change a few things. Okay, I'm going to create a, all right, so let's read through this. I make a request to /books/ID/delete, takes me to the views file, the book delete method. The book delete method finds the book from the database, and it's going to say, if the method is equal to post, I'm going to delete that record and then redirect you to the book list. Otherwise, if it's not a post, it's a GET request, I'm going to load up the book confirm delete HTML file, which I haven't created yet. And then the thing I'm going to pass through is going to be book. Let's just call this book is equal to book. So in the same folder as all the other templates, I'm going to create a file called book confirm delete.html. Inside of there, I'm just going to put in this bit. H1, book delete, it's just going to be a form. Are you sure you want to delete this? And you're just going to say submit, and that will work. Let me close here. And yeah, let's see if this works. Refresh the page, refresh the page, refresh the page. Something's broken. Okay, so something's broken at books/urls.py line 12. Books, URLs, I see what's wrong. Can someone help me figure out what's going on?
Calculations then?
Anyone see it?
After line 11.
I'm gonna assume someone said comma, so I'm gonna put a comma right there, and now it works. Remember, each one of these URLs is a individual record inside of a list. So how do you separate things inside of a list? You have to have new lines. You'd have to have commas between each element. Let's jump back over here. All right, so we can read all of our books. We can read an individual book. We can edit this particular book, soccer book 123, and submit. There's soccer book 123, and you can see it, it's right there. I'm able to also delete this book. Let's say that Giovanni's favorite book is no longer soccer 123. So I'm going to click on this. You'll take a look in the bottom left-hand corner, /books/1/delete. I'm going to click on that one. And it says, are you sure you want to delete? Oh, wait a second. Are you sure you want to delete and then nothing? Let's go back. I made a request to /books/ID/delete. Takes me to the views file, specifically the book delete. I grab the book out of the database. It's not a post request because I was trying to make a GET request to actually get to that web page. It's going to take me over here now to confirm delete.html, and I've got this payload called book, and the value of that is going to be book.
Hey, John, can you go to your confirm delete? I think where you changed book to or object to book, does that have to change in line 3 or not?
Good call. Let's take a look. So before it was just we all saw it before. It's just looks like this. So it looks like I'm trying to interpolate object.title. but I'm not passing in object before I changed it from object to book. So I can name this book. Again, you can change it to poop. You can change it to whatever you'd like. It just has to be consistent. And it says, are you sure you want to delete soccer book 1, 2, 3? It's a form, so I'm going to say, yep, go ahead. And what you'll notice is that it no longer exists inside this here. What happens when you submit the actual form, if the request method that comes back here is a post, I'm going to delete the book from the database, and then I'm going to return you back to the book list, which is all of the books. Coming back over here, if I try to go to book/1, it'll blow up. It says the book matching the query does not exist because we actually deleted book 1 out of the database altogether. And with that, again, what did we do today? We created a CRUD app of books. We're able to create books, read a lot of them, read all of them, read individual ones, update them if we need to, and then we're also able to delete. I'm going to stop the recording here and say a few more words and then grab some questions.